Hello, what's going on? I do believe it's the 10th today of July. I do believe it's the 10th today of July, 2019. What a wonderful day to be alive. So, back on the health ideas and stuff. I'm going back to a lot of the research that originally got me into a lot of this stuff. And, there's one specific YouTube channel by a doctor who was in Florida. He passed away, and very unfortunate because at the time when I came across his work the most, he had passed away literally maybe about 3 or 4 months prior to me trying to get a hold of him. So it's kind of like, what a bunch of baloney. Kind of silly too, because there's this notion that if you're really informative on health and so forth, when you just die of mysterious reasons, you gotta wonder what part of that puzzle were they missing. And I remember one specific episode where he was talking about why the guy who made all those I don't fucking know, juicer infomercials, whatever the heck that guy is, old ass man who was like dragging tugboats in water and shit and running marathons. Well, I remember he died from something simple like a damn iron deficiency or some bullshit. And I remember him talking about that. And now, when he passed away, I'm like, holy fuck, I wonder what the hell he was missing. Or, I mean, you guess you could have that more unpopular idea that somebody could have offed him, because there is not a unlikeliness that if you try to spread too much good old wisdom that some things might negatively happen to you. I've heard several of those accounts before, but I'm not going to jump to any of those kind of conclusions. But straight to the meat and potatoes. I remember when I was first researching very seriously about cholesterol and stuff like that, and he originally tuned me into the whole fact that, all these myths about cholesterol, all this shit's absolutely nonsense. There is no good cholesterol, there's no bad cholesterol, there's only cholesterol. And I remember reading some of the books that he specifically suggested, good fats, bad fats. I can't remember the other one, but that was a pretty big, bulky book. And I was just reviewing some of the stuff, so I figured I would talk about a little bit about that, right? So you hear about cholesterol negatively impacting the heart, and you hear of things like arteriosclerosis and stuff like that, plaquing of the arteries, and people have been blaming it on cholesterol for a long time, and some people say that there's good cholesterol and there's bad cholesterol, and it goes all over the place. Well, a couple things to get into that, right? So first off, cholesterol is essential for life. It's not affected by the diet. Your body produces cholesterol. It's something that's produced inside of the liver, and it has several functions. For just a small list, it helps with conductivity for interactions between cells, right? It helps with neurons, brain cells of that nature. It helps with lubrication stuff, almost like the myelin sheath on the neurons, like I was talking about. I mean, it's not myelin is more specific to the brain cells, but this is more for lubricating just different parts of the body. It's great for healing cell walls, providing protection on the cell walls. A lot of essential functions. And you have a lot of... Shame on me. The only reason I fucking cough like that, I know I don't have lung cancer or anything. I'm always sipping on my coffee and fucking... Shame on me, I'm eating some bullshit bagels, right? I already know that I'm going to have to find a better substitute for that, because especially getting back into health research, I understand the detriment of it. I'm still trying to find a good supplement for bread. Just something that's nice and hearty. Other than that, I literally just eat vegetables all day long, so I gotta find a way to clean that last impurity, perhaps. Or maybe even one day give up coffee, depending on the science. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But, so, people say, like, LDL cholesterol is bad, right? Not so much. So, what ends up happening is, kind of like that correlation I said not too long ago, where it's just like, there is a, correlation is not, correlation is not causation. Meaning it's just like, just because they correlate with certain things doesn't mean that they necessarily are the cause for that thing. Like, one example I gave a little while ago was how people who tended to donate plasma ended up having a healthier heart, like just better blood flow in general. Well, one could jump to the two conclusions. Well, one jumps to one typical conclusion, and that is the fact that because of donating plasma, you're inevitably creating a healthier state in your body. The opposite is true, where, well, actually that doesn't make sense. It's not the opposite. Not donating doesn't do anything. It is to be looked at it in a different way, whereas in people who qualify to be able to donate already have a higher threshold than those who cannot. Therefore, it's kind of rigged statistics, meaning that there's a process in which you can donate, and if you don't pass that, then you can't. So therefore, you're not part of the statistics. So it's a very biased statistic. Well, what the fuck was I going with this? God damn, I wish I had a fucking pause button for this shit, because I'm not going to edit it. So it's like, and I can't use open camera because that shit takes way too much memory and stuff. Why the fuck was I talking about that? Shame on me, right? Fucking. I'm not at all surprised if people are watching these videos and they're just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then just turn it off. But, I was talking about rigged statistics. I mean, I was going to talk about, like, LDL cholesterol. Oh! Okay. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. So, it's kind of like the rigged statistics, where they saw a correlation from bad data, mind you. Okay, so first let's go into the bad data. First, there was a study done with a bunch of rabbits that showed a correlation that higher amount of fats produced higher amount of cholesterol, so forth like that, and that the higher, the arteriosclerosis, plaquing of the arteries, ended up causing a bunch of deaths in these rabbits. But first off, those rabbits weren't capable of digesting those fats in the first place. So, because they were rabbits and they're not supposed to be eating animal meat like that. So those were bad participants, but they took that study and they kind of ran with it. And also another guy did a human trial, but he kind of just got rid of all the details that didn't follow that hypothesis. So what would have been just a bunch of scatter points on the chart, they ended up making the correlation in their favor and just going with that, making the curve based around cherry-picked data. But the reason I say jumping to the wrong conclusion instead of asking the other question is because there is like cholesterol molecules that are in fact being part of the plaque of the artery, but it's not because of the cholesterol that it's not the cholesterol's fault. It's the inflammation and other things that are making it stick to the cell wall. So it's not the vehicle, it's the environment, if you know what I mean, right? So you put anything that's properly working in a bad environment and it could create problems, even though those particular things aren't an issue. And another situation is they found out that people having like serious issues with their body had high cholesterol. Well, just like with the donating plasma, one could assume that because they have high cholesterol, that must mean the cholesterol is the cause for their issue. On the contrary, it is because they're sick that their body has a lot of cholesterol. And the reason they have a lot of cholesterol is because it's very fundamental for healing the cell walls, and like they act as like little band-aids on, you know, the arteries and so forth, to make it so it's just like if you have damage, it'll act as a little band-aid so it doesn't blow out. And if it stays there for too long because the state of your health can't, you know, reverse that process or get rid of it naturally, it'll calcify, and that's where you get some serious issues. But you know, there is no such thing as good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. There's just cholesterol. The one that they consider to be bad cholesterol is really just the cholesterol that is being transported to a cell that's healing it. And they've came to the conclusion that just because those are more prevalent, those must be the bad guys, when, you know, in the state of disharmony in the body. But I'm just rambling now. I don't know. I'll have to give some references to this shit, because I don't expect anyone just to believe it off the top of their noggin. But that's all for today.